Hey friends, as we are getting closer to 4th of July holiday, when this is being recorded, there's many things that people wrestle with in the LGBTQ community. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. But before we dive into that, if you are an LGBTQ person or an ally, maybe you're a parent of a queer kid, and you don't trust clergy, or maybe you've been traumatized by your church, I actually have become sort of the online pastor for many LGBTQ people and parents and allies. You can go to patreon.com/JOANNA WHALEY. That's patreon.com/JOANNA WHALEY. And for as little as $1.99 a month, $4.99 a month, $9.99 a month, you can be a member and I can basically become your online pastor. So go to patreon.com/JOANNA WHALEY. On the other side of the music, we're going to have an amazing interview with my beautiful friend, Fiona. Thanks for being here. Here we go.
Are you awake or sleeper? Come to the table, come where you've always belonged.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the JOANNA WHALEY podcast. Oh, you are all in for a treat today, because my new, wonderful, beautiful, gorgeous, amazing friend, Fiona Rawls, is on the show with us today. And I'm going to let Fiona tell her story, but when I heard who Fiona is and a little bit of her story, I thought today's episode, the episode that airs on July 3rd, she has to be on this show because she's a veteran. And she's a trans woman. And I think that she just offers such a cool perspective. Fiona, welcome to the podcast.
Such a warm welcome. Thank you so much, Joanna.
Oh, so tell us, tell the listeners, tell those who are watching right now live at JOANNA WHALEY Music, all my other live channels, tell us your story of being you and being a veteran. We would love to hear that.
Absolutely. So just real quick, just so everyone knows, my official is Staff Sergeant Paul Rawls, U.S. Army retired. So, that's who I am. I didn't start out there. In the beginning, I was just a confused young boy, who was just graduated high school, and my grandfather was dying. And I asked my grandfather, what should I do in my life? And he told me, you should just join the military like every other man in your family name.
Yeah.
And so with that solid advice and my desperate need to be a closet homosexual, there I was at the recruiter's office signing up for getting a fat signing bonus.
Wow.
Yeah. And so obviously I did my basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Really great stuff, and went on to do my schooling, which I was a 35 Echo, and for those of you that want to know, that's a radio and communications security equipment repairer and maintainer.
Wow.
It just means I do a lot of soldering.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
To me, I'm thinking like Robin Williams, like you were on the radio, Good morning, Vietnam. That's what went to my mind. But anyways,
there were plenty of times where I did get to operate the radio, not just fix it. So yeah,
awesome. That's awesome. So
I used to get in trouble for goofing off on the radio.
Oh boy, yeah. So Fiona, you are you currently still are you still active in the military?
No,
okay.
I retired from the military in 2008. I was medically retired.
Okay.
For post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as a couple of other things.
Yeah. So you have such a unique perspective because you're a trans woman, and I know folks that are in the service that are closeted, but you're out. You're out and proud. So tell us, what are some of these challenges that you experience and your experience being a veteran and a trans woman? What are some of those unique challenges that you experience?
It's really just the roadblocks you run into with the Veterans Affairs Administration. And I'd like to say, I'm not sure if this is a problem that's completely unique to transgender veterans. I grew up down the street from a VA hospital, and my grandparents would say every time we passed it, "Oh, what horrible treatment goes on there." So before I was ever transgender or in the military, the VA was always horrible. So being a transgender veteran and trying to get top-notch service from an already failed system, it's more rough than it should be.
Yeah, I've heard that from some folks. It's funny, I've heard like kind of both ends of it. I've heard some people that say like they got great service, but then others are like, yeah, it's a total disaster. Like,
what I want to say is, so the first 6 years that I was on HRT, when I was in Colorado, the VA there would only prescribe me the absolute lowest doses. I mean, I'm talking about 0.5 milligrams of Pamira and estrogen, like not even estradiol, stuff like that. So when
That's interesting.
It is interesting. They told me it was because I smoked cigarettes, and that cigarettes put me at a risk of blood clots.
I don't know. I know a lot of smoking trans women, chain smoking trans women.
Me too. I am.
They seem to be doing fine.
Free though. Too.
Yeah. So you served honorably, like in the military.
4 combat tours.
Yeah. Thank you. Like, first of all, like, thank you for your service. Thank you for, fighting for our right to exist in the world. But so talk about how like the military, being in the military, shaped your concept of patriotism. And now, as being an out LGBTQ person, talk to us about like how do you hold patriotic ideas while being in the queer community? Who, let's be honest, and I know that you don't really hold like, you may not hold this idea, but like how do you hold patriotism in a community, in the queer community, that is often skeptical of America? How do you navigate that, and how do you hold being patriotic?
I mean, I recognize that it's our country that guarantees our freedom. There's countries around the world where we are, jailed, put in prison, if not outright, put through a more aggressive process. And so, my service to this nation, I feel like nobody has the right to be treated more than me. Right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm having some technical issues over here. Yeah, and I think.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think you really nailed it there, saying that like there are countries where. Is it? I'm trying to think of. Is it the Congo? There's a country in Africa that recently just passed what's called aggravated homosexuality, is like the name, and it's a lifetime sentence if you are found being queer, which is wild. Like, and that, I mean, even that makes you think, wow, like we are lucky to live here,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it makes you thankful for things. And so I'm curious, what are your hopes for the future of LGBTQ people in America? I think we had a veteran on the show yesterday who called in and said, "Hey, I fought for this country, and I think it's awful that people are trying to revoke the rights of people that I fought for." And so, what are your hopes for LGBTQ people and this country, as somebody who is queer and fought for this place?
Well, I say the persecution, because we deserve it. I'm sorry, I'm getting an echo.
What was that?
I was getting an echo.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yes. So it's like queer people, and as far as patriotism, I mean, our country is what represents that freedom. Queer people, above all people, should be the most patriotic. I live in a state of Florida, where I have a fellow veteran who's running the state, Ron DeSantis, and it is a tragedy
Yeah.
to see a fellow veteran be so against American citizens' rights. So, there is that element in our society, and I can't ignore that. But what I will say is the extremist element does not represent the majority.
Yeah, that's really hard because there's so many laws that are passing through, and it is by, what's hard is that it comes from this place of saying, hey, we're Christians and we think that we should have to hold everyone to that Christian ethic, right? And it's funny because I think I read on the show yesterday how Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding framers of the country, said this shouldn't be we shouldn't be forcing people to adhere to religious law. That's part of what they fought, in the revolution.
We're not a theocracy.
Exactly. But I feel so often we are trying to push society back into theocracy, which is so dangerous. So how do you navigate that? I'm just curious, as you see people you see people trying to push theocracy on us, but you fought for democracy.
I feel like they're not trying to push theocracy. What they're trying to push is exclusion. Because if they were trying to push theocracy, this country would be a better place. There wouldn't be poor people. There we'd have standardized health care. I mean, if we were really representing Christianity as a nation, I mean, why would there be any children in adoption? I just feel like they're trying to use their religion as a sword instead of a shield.
Yeah. so true. And in the last couple of minutes, this show is quick, as you know, and you listen and you participate in this show. But on the other side of this, we already see we have people calling in, and I know some of my folks on the other streaming networks. I've been trying to figure out why you can't hear Fiona today, and I apologize for that. But you can always go listen to the show afterwards.
Many are called, few will hear.
Yeah. Get on the narrow path here of TikTok, I guess. Yeah, so I'm just curious in the last couple of minutes we have before we go to commercial, and then we'll start taking folks' calls. I have tons of people that are waiting to get on, which is great. But tell me, what is your message for trans people, for LGBTQ people in this country who are considering military service or are in the closet in the military, who are struggling to reconcile their identity with what they see in civilian culture right now? What would your thoughts and advice for them be right now?
Stay strong. The opportunity to serve with honor and distinction is going to be available. Mm-hmm. And, it's my military service that is what provides my hormone replacement therapy today, and all my counseling and anything else I need. And, our country and our military is big on diversity. And, they've really pushed hard to make a bottom-up change in the military to make sure that stays true. Now, that doesn't always work in all cases. But for the most part, the military does believe its values on diversity. I was an equal opportunity representative in the military, so somebody like me was in charge of making sure the ethical values were being upheld in my unit. So it's not a polarizing place. It's a giant mix of people with all different kind of mindsets.
Awesome. Well, Fiona, thank you for who you are, your story. And friends, Fiona's going to stay here with us in the next few moments for the rest of the show. And we're going to take calls. We're going to take text. If you're on any of the streaming networks, throw a comment in or go to JOANNAWHALEY.com/live and leave a text. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Hey friends, it seems like everyone and their mom has a podcast these days, and everyone and their mom wants you to join their Patreon. So why on earth would you join my Patreon? Here's why. Our Patreon community is a little bit different because we are building a community of LGBTQ people and allies who need spiritual support. Let's be honest, many of my listeners may have a lot of distrust with clergy, and you need a place to talk safely with someone like me, a former pastor who is a trans woman. And we can really dive into some of the nitty-gritty of your experience. Go to patreon.com/Joanna Whaley and join a whole community of people right now. That's patreon.com/Joanna Whaley. We would love to see you there.
Where does this grace abound? It's in the love
That's
made of.
all right, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. The wonderful, the talented Fiona Rawls is here with us. And if you're watching on TikTok Live at Joanna Whaley Music, or you're watching on any other streaming platform, you can call in right now, and we would love to chat with you about these topics. We want to talk about like American Pride versus LGBTQ Pride, because when this episode airs, it's the day before the 4th of July. And as Fiona kind of showed us, like, it's possible to hold queerness and patriotism, and sometimes that can kind of get lost in some of our narratives. And I come from evangelical narratives, which were like, America is like, you know, the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it's like the only way. It's like, wait, hold on, I thought you said Jesus was the only way, you know? And so these things can become really triggering for those in the queer community to hear those things. So we're going to bring some folks in here and have a quick chat about this and see what the people's thoughts are. Hi, friend, welcome in. No?
I think we should burn all the faggots. Faggots are bad. We don't like faggots.
Yeah, so...
The thing about that is...
Yeah, let's talk about that.
You have to feel bad that this child is like basically being abused, growing up in a hate-filled environment. And you know, you see this a lot with like terrorist organizations where they basically radicalize their children. Because if they took their children in a public setting, you know, obviously they wouldn't be able to cultivate that point of view. So they normally like homeschool their kids, radicalize,
it's hard. And you know, and a lot of people ask me, why do you leave that stuff on the show? Because even though like people say really offensive stuff when they come on this show, but I want people to hear the reality of what we deal with. I think it's important. And
100%.
What stinks, Fiona, is that like, you fought for people's right to say these terrible things, and we have to hold space for it, you know, unfortunately. So, hi, friend, welcome in.
Hello.
Hi, how old are you?
I'm 13.
Yeah, I put the setting on for 18 and over, and somehow people are still getting it. It does say 18 and over. In order to be involved in these conversations, we are looking for adults only. Thank you. I do have a text message question, and I'm going to read it here from Sarah in Des Moines. Says, hey there, love the show. I'm in the military, but have been questioning my gender identity. I love serving my country, but I'm fearful to be the subject of its worst tendencies. How do you navigate that as a transgender veteran?
Well, I'll tell you what.
That is a very beautiful question.
I have a very scandalous answer.
I love it.
So knowing that we're on the verge of World War III and knowing that like everybody's about to be deployed, I can tell you one thing's for sure. If I could do it all again, if I could do it all again and be transgender, I would. Because it would be an incredible experience to be in a foreign country with hundreds of men all the way from their wild girlfriends with all this emotion that they need to
That's
express.
awesome. I love it.
I talk about contractor opportunities.
Yeah. That I'll tell you what, being a military babe, that would be pretty fun.
It would be really fun.
But you would be like the one in the uniform, like looking awesome. It's like, look at me. I'm a badass. So
That chick does all those squats.
a badass bitch that's what you would be in that uniform too. So I have other text message questions. If you're watching live on TikTok at Joanna Whaley Music and you have thoughts on this, if you're watching on any other streaming network, put in a text. We love to chat with you. I do have another text message here from Alex in Atlanta.
ATL?
It says, "Hi, I served my country, but sometimes I feel like it doesn't serve me back." The whole two genders things has been really isolating, especially when you factor in faith. Do you ever feel like you have to choose between being trans and being patriotic? Ooh.
No.
Tough question. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't know where this is coming from, to be honest. Like at the VA was one of the first medical organizations to give people the right to identify as a different gender.
Wow.
Right. I'm identified as third gender non-binary to a federal system. And like, to me, that is so affirming when I live in a state where they put in the Constitution as like, it's just nice to know I have that umbrella of protection. And, it's good knowing that they can't touch us because of our service to our country. And, it's like being in the club.
Yeah. Okay, I have a lot of text message questions, but here, we'll see. We're going to try to see. Callers have been a little bit of a strikeout today, but that's okay. We had some great conversations yesterday. We'll see how this one goes, but sometimes we never know. It's a crapshoot at times to see, like, is this going to go well or is this not? But it's kind of the fun of it, right? So we that person just isn't there anymore, I guess. Let me read another text message, and I love that you're responding like, no, like you absolutely can be patriotic and be trans and be queer. Michael in Salt Lake City, they'll be the fans of the Coyotes. The whole family.
Text message question. It's right here.
Wait.
We'll see. We're going to try to see.
What's happening right now?
Callers have been a little bit of a strikeout today. That's okay. We had some great conversations
Are you hearing that?
I did hear that.
yesterday.
It's my recording interface is like looping everything back for some reason. That's very strange. Let's try to take a call here. See what happens. Sometimes we have great technical again, like what these children just go back to school. Just go back to, we need school 24/7. It's been hilarious today. Hi Nick, how are you?
Not too bad. How you doing?
Good. We're just happy to hear an adult on the show today.
Oh.
Welcome. What are your thoughts on this, my friend?
I just joined. I don't even know what y'all talking about.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. So we're talking about my guest here is Fiona, who is a veteran and also a transgender woman, and we're talking about some of those tensions between American pride and LGBTQ pride, and how many times like Christian nationalist ideas, people get all angry about being having Pride Month, but then it's like, okay, well, like we also can be proud of being American too. So we're just having that conversation.
Okay, I support Pride. I don't know about everybody else. I do.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes if you go through our comment sections, you can definitely tell people do not support us in the queer community.
I got friends I went to school with is lesbian, gays. I still treat them like the same, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, thank you for being an ally, you know, and I think that it's important to have people that that advocate for us and see us as fully human. So, Nick, thank you so much for being here and being a part of the conversation. Yeah, amazing. It's just, as I said, it's nice to have an adult show up on the show sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
You can see like why sometimes, and I even like put on for those who listen to this show, not live, I put on like 18 and over settings, so kids probably just lied when they set up their TikTok accounts, you know. That's, I'm assuming they think that they're they told TikTok that they're 30 or whatever. Okay, let's see. I was gonna read, did I read Michael's text?
I don't think so.
Got you. Okay, so this is from Michael in Salt Lake City. He says, the whole, quote, family values thing can be tough to hear as a trans person who serves. I feel like my service isn't always valued the same as others because I'm transgender. How can I see value in my service in the military if I'm afraid that my rights will be undone once I'm a civilian?
You have to trust in the moment. You know, I think back to the Tuskegee Airmen, people who served and were put down for their service, even though they excelled in everything that they did. You know, the credit, the commendation, the respect, it might not be here right now, but you got to know that what you're doing matters, and you got to know that you're paving the way for the next generation. And that's the way I look at a lot of things for myself. You know, the work and advocacy stuff that I do, it's not about me. It's not about this generation who's already lost. You know, it's about the generation that's going to gain.
Right.
And that's what you got to understand. Your service is about fired in yourself, and don't let anyone take that away from you. Yeah.
We have another comment here from, it looks like Davey in the comments says, why do we have a whole month for LGB ... community, but only a day for veterans and active duty? What are your thoughts on that? You as a trans veteran, I'm curious. I get this question a lot, and I say, if we want to have a whole month, just go for it. I don't care. Just do it. I don't care. But what are your thoughts on that?
I feel like Veteran Appreciation Month is in May.
Yeah. Is that a thing? Veteran Appreciation Month?
I feel like it is, yeah.
Well, see, I didn't know. And
Let's give it a Google.
There is a month. We just need to raise the awareness of it, apparently.
Yeah, I feel like that is right.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow. Yeah. We're going to try one more call here. We're going to see. Hi, friend.
Hello.
Welcome in.
First off, with your statement you said about May, May is actually for Asian people. You know how like Black History Month,
AAPI month. Yeah, I hear you.
Yes.
Well, here's my question though, friend. Do you think that more than one thing can be celebrated in 1 month?
Oh no, I do, because June is also Men's Mental Awareness Month. It's just not as known as Pride, which I do personally. I do not believe Pride should deserve a month. I think a week at best.
I go for a season.
Yeah, tell me more. Tell me why.
Because 50% of the time it's a choice. I know the science that most people are born gay. I know that science real quick before you go yelling at me.
Hold on. You're saying 50% of queer people are queer by choice?
In my personal experience, yes, because I have a lot of gay friends. 5 times out of 10, it's a choice. The other 5 times, it's basically
Have you done
science.
that research? Hold that thought, friend. I want to keep you on the line. Mute for me for just a moment. We're going to close this episode, and you're going to be on our B-roll, friends. Stay with us. Friends, thank you for joining the podcast today. I want to keep that conversation go. Join us at patreon.com/JoANNA WHALEY to hear the rest of this conversation. All right.